Let's get into main topic number one, shall we? And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Jerome Levesque, who writes, "Hi, John, Rob, Erin, filthy and proud to be since 2013. Well, thank you so much, Jerome. I was listening to John and Rob review the amazing The Batman teaser trailer and got thinking, what an irregular chance for Matt Reeves or any other director in a similar situation to these weird-ass times to get a chance to gather feedback, good or bad, from the public, as roughly 25% of his film is actually shot. There's vision for sure, but what a temptation, understandably, it must represent to course correct depending on that feedback." All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, of course, we were just talking about DC fandom, and one of the big trailers that dropped, the biggest one, obviously, was The Batman, but we also got a behind-the-scenes look at Suicide Squad, a new Wonder Woman 84 look. We got our first kind of samples and tasting of what Black Adam was going to be like. We got the Snyder Cut stuff, all sorts of things. This is something I've had, Rob, actually a surprising number of people writing into me and asking, do you think now that they put up these trailers and they get reaction, that now they can go back and they've got time to make changes to their movies as a result of the feedback they get from these trailers? Anything is possible. Anything's possible. Like, you look at this Batman trailer, which, other than a couple of little nitpicks I had, I freaking love this trailer. I just cannot wait to see what Matt Reeves is doing with this movie. It still comes down to the main thing, though. Filmmakers, once they have they need to follow their vision. My bottom line feeling on this is filmmakers need to follow their vision. And I think for the most part they do. And they understand the reason that they're filmmakers and the rest of us fans aren't is because they know what they're doing. And they got to follow, because, I think you need to succeed or fail. And you got to be able to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, I succeeded or failing doing what I thought was right. And if it failed, then at least I did my movie and I got no regrets. And if it succeeds, great. All that kind of stuff. But no, I really don't think, because here's the problem, Rob. Too many times fans think, and I think we're all guilty of this. Fans think they speak for everybody. Fans feel like they speak for everyone. Like, I've had people say to me, the fans, John, want, I don't know, X something. And I would often say to them, no, that's not true. I know a lot of fans that, in fact, do not want what you just said the fans want. The problem is them and all their friends think that way, so they kind of have this perception that all fans must feel this way. So no, especially based on trailers. Now, you'll get a 1 in a million situation, something like the Sonic situation, where they decide to make a change just with a physical design of something, of the creature. And they went back and did that, made a bunch of people happy. I didn't think they should have changed it. I thought the changes they made were improvements, so I'll give them that. I thought the changes they made were improvements. But that's a 1 in a million situation. I certainly don't think, based on a 2-minute trailer or something that showed like whatever, that a director or producer should feel like, these fans got a 2-minute look at everything. They know what we should do with this movie. So no, and I think we as fans, like, listen, there's something hypocritical about us as fans, and I include myself in this, where we will yell at studios, let the directors carry out their vision. Let the directors carry out their vision. But then we as fans turn around and go, hey, directors, do what we want you to do. Do what we want you to do. You know what I mean? There's something inherently hypocritical about us. And I am as guilty as this as anybody. But there's something but basically, no, I think whatever path, look, James Gunn has already finished shooting his movie. I think none of us should second guess Patty Jenkins at this point. Obviously, Matt Reeves has a really good handle on things. I don't think the director should change anything that they're doing based on reactions some people may have to getting the briefest of glimpses at something for 2 minutes when they have been living with this material for 2 years. So ultimately, no. And considering how positive a lot of the feedback has been here, Rob, I don't think there'd be any need to make those changes at any rate, unless there was something glaring and obvious, but I didn't catch any of that. Rob, how would you respond to something like that? What would your thoughts be as a filmmaker yourself?
Well, I think it's really hard to understand the filmmaking process and how many thousands and thousands of decisions go in to everything. Like I've heard a lot of people reading wildly different opinions of Robert Pattinson so far in the role. We've heard him say one line of dialogue, which is "I am vengeance." And there's people that have been talking about his Batman voice. I'm like, his Batman voice, he said 3 words in a scene after he beats somebody up. I've had people say, well, they did it already like this in Batman v Superman in the warehouse fight scene. And I'm like, actually, no, they didn't. And I could get into an argument about the difference when you see a continuous take and seeing somebody pummel someone in the face that fast, and how that's actually very different than what we saw in the warehouse fight. But why get into these kinds of things? I just think that the problem that fandom has always had, and I know because I have this problem, we, in our own minds, we all believe that we know best for whatever our favorite project is or our favorite franchise or whatever. I mean, in the case of Star Trek, it's true. I do know best. but I also think that it's not fair, because then that takes away from, an artist who's worked with something and have made those tens of thousands of decisions. When you're sitting in an edit bay, you know what footage you have, you know what footage you don't have, you know why you've made design choices that you've made. I mean, I've seen people bitch about the Batmobile in the upcoming The Batman. And if you're a comic fan, you're like, no, that Batmobile looks like it comes out of a Neil Adams comic from the mid-'70s. That was the 70s Batmobile. Well, if you didn't know that and you had no context, you're going to be like, well, that's not as cool as the Batmobiles in Tim Burton's movies. Well, if you didn't know that, then you're going to say, sure, I don't like that. So the problem is that fans sometimes are a little myopic in terms of their viewpoints. And for filmmakers to listen to the myriad of viewpoints that fans have after watching a 2-minute trailer, that therein lies death. One thing that a filmmaker needs is a point of view and an approach that they stick to. Look what happened when the studio decided to pivot on Zack Snyder they second guessed themselves. And when you start second guessing yourself making a movie, you're dead in the water. Now, the Sonic the Hedgehog thing was different because that was a design element that they could actually fix. And I thought that when we saw the trailer at CinemaCon, it was like, that was not good. And part of it was that design. So sometimes, okay, 1 in a million, you get fans going, yeah, we should do this, and it works. But filmmakers, you've got to, these are visions that begin years in advance. And I don't think you can second guess anything by looking at a trailer. Because if you listen to fans, Heath Ledger never would have been Joker. Michael Keaton never would have been Batman. Patty Jenkins probably wouldn't have directed Wonder Woman. So I think more often than not, we do get good stuff.
And that doesn't mean we as fans don't have a right to critique or to criticize. But like, for instance, I love this Batman trailer. There are 2 little nitpicks I had, which we talked about yesterday, right? I didn't like the Bruce Wayne hair. I don't like him having the longer hair.
Right.
And I personally didn't like the "I'm vengeance" line in a live action thing. Do I think for 1 second that Matt Reeves should go, oh no, well, I better go and get Robert Pattinson to cut his hair and reshoot that shot? No, absolutely not. Do not listen to me, Matt. I'm just saying that I did or didn't like one particular thing, but I'm just seeing a 2-minute thing out of context. So We'll wait and see. Please don't change anything based on my criticism, but that doesn't mean you as a fan or I as a fan or all of us as fans don't have the right to say what we like and don't like. Of course we do. Yeah. But we can say we didn't like something and something didn't work for us, and yet still say, but you know what? We're just gonna wait for the movie to come out. I don't like this right now. I don't like this right now. And that's cool. Let's see how it actually works in the real movie, and then let it come, and then let it happen. And I trust Matt Reeves, and I think he's going to deliver something really, really special.
But oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, like the thing about the hair, I too sort of felt like you did, that it looked a little not what I would expect from Batman. However, if you see it in the context of the whole movie and you have time to get used to it over the course of the story that they're telling, and maybe it seems more natural based on the film, then it could work. But we're being presented Bruce Wayne hair that we've never seen before in a quick context. And I agree with you. That was a little bit like, that's an interesting fashion choice for Bruce Wayne. Not what I would have expected. But to me, it was something that stuck out in that trailer. But when you see it in the context of, say, a 2+ hour movie, and you're presented the character of Bruce Wayne in a way we haven't seen before, maybe that becomes just part of the character and you don't even notice it. But in a trailer, you would. So you bump on that, as I did a little bit, the way you did. That doesn't mean we're wrong, but we haven't been given enough context to get used to it yet.
No, and that's exactly the point. And how many times have we all seen things that we didn't like at first, and then we see it in context and we go, oh, you know what? I really like it. You know, like I didn't like the animation style of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse until I saw the movie. And then I'm like, oh, this totally worked, you know? And so I trust Matt Reeves. I think this trailer was spectacular. And you know what? You know what the funny thing is too? Nothing other than like the CGI-ness of Cheetah in the Wonder Woman 84 trailer. But as a whole, I like the trailer. I like just about everything I saw come out of there. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what they do here. Question here is, guys, what do you think about that? Do you have any element that you saw come out of DC fandom that made you go, oh, I really think they need to change this before the movie comes out? Maybe you can think of a couple. Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys.